Good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to Bridge the Divide. For those who are new here or might be new here, I am JL. Thank you so much for joining me. So, good to see everyone. I hope everyone is doing fantastic out there, having an excellent evening. It is Thursday. Wow, I don't often go live on Thursday. In fact, I haven't been live in a minute. But I got the opportunity to go live tonight and have a discussion that I've been longing to have for a minute and to get some kind of ideas. So, but before, I'm not going to spoil anything. But before we jump into it, let's say hi to whoever's in the live chat. Let's see. I see Charlie Welch is here. Good to see you, Charlie Welch. Thanks so much for hanging out, bud. And Peter Flemberg, a member of the channel. Peter Flemberg as well. Good to see you. And Annie as well. And Mr. E-Man, thank you so much for being here. And Cody is here. Clive Wells as well. Thank you so much for being here, Clive. Thank you for the obligatory ghost. He also says, I find it quite surprising that JL believes in ghosts when he is usually so rational. Well, that's up to him, I suppose. I'm tired of fighting that battle. I really am. But thank you, Clive Wells, for being here. I do appreciate it. Doctor Who Design is here. Good to see you, Doctor Who. Tony Regime as well. Thank you for the obligatory ghost. Sam I Am is here. Says... Sam I Am is here. Good to see you. So Last Summer 7 is here, so I'm finally catching you live. I'm excited. I probably wouldn't have the chance to chat much since I have so much to do preparing to move. But I'll be listening. Well, I hope your move goes very smoothly. Thank you so much for hanging out and checking it out. Beard's a little wily this evening. I tried to prep it, but it's getting at that stage where it's kind of getting low. I think the weight's going to start pulling it down a little bit. I hope, because it's so especially when it gets wet, it's very Viking-like. Which I kind of dig. So, but good to see you. Thank you so much for being here so last summer. Peter Noddle's here. Good to see you, Peter Noddle. Also a channel member. Mystique Tina Jones is here. In fact, he as well. Thank you so much for being here. Rasheen is here. Good to see you, Rasheen. And let me see. Wrote it no last name. Gabba Gabba to you. These notifications actually worked. Kind of makes me want to river dance. Kind of makes me feel like river dancing. Good to see you. Good to see you, bud. Lolly77 is here. Good to see you, Lolly. And I see Skeptic Dank as well. Good to see you. Lynn Willow as well. Frayed Edges. Turing Test 2. Ed2276. So many amazing people in the chat. And Martin H. Good to see you, Martin H. Is our ride right on time. Thank you so much for being here, Martin. I do appreciate it. John Rapp is in the house. Good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here. Says, the Pacific G'day, mate. Good to see you, bud. Thanks so much. And I think, Welsh News Network has become a new member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much, Welsh. I do appreciate that, bud. Thank you for the support. Your support helps to make this channel possible and make the conversations that we have here possible. And, of course, you now have access to all of the cool emojis that I made for you. And, of course, the channel badge, which is the expanding mind emoji, which is the longer you're with me, the more your mind expands. See what I did there? Thank you so much, Welsh News Network. I appreciate that. Forgiven Jerry is here as well. Good to see you, Forgiven Jerry. Can't wait to hear how you rake me over the coals tonight. And I see AJ Heeb as well. Good to see you. This is Guten Tag, Guten Abend. Thank you so much for being here, AJ. Oh, so many amazing people here. Thank you all so very much. So, that brings us to the topic of tonight and why I decided to go live on a Thursday night. And I'll also be going live tomorrow night as well. Two live streams in a row. What the hell is going on? It's amazing. So, but I have something very cool planned for tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a bit earlier, too. So I hope that more people can catch it. But look forward to that. But tonight, the topic of discussion is, I was recently, y'all caught me over on the plot holes. I was talking with Johnny O, and we were addressing a video that appeared on Creaky Blinder's channel. And Creaky Blinder had done a live stream where he was looking at some stuff about creationist Matt Powell. And so, obviously, there was some really gross stuff in there about things that Matt had said. But that conversation that Matt was having was between him and another believer, another Christian named Brett Keane. So Brett Keane has his own channel, and so without further ado, we're going to have the conversation tonight. I would like to welcome Brett Keane to the channel. Thank you so much for being here, Brett.
What should I call you, JL or Mr. Bridge?
You can call me JL.
All right.
Okay, so this conversation that you had. First and foremost, before we dive into it, for those on my channel who are not familiar with you or what you do on your channel, can you give them kind of an introduction as to like who you are, what you do, what you believe, and what you do over at your channel, which is Brett Keane. What is Brett Keane official?
Well,
A
it's
little
the handle would be easier just to do handle at Brett Keane.
at Brett. That's right. We have our new handles now. I'm still getting used to it.
So what I do on my channel is I talk about science, entertainment, comedy. I'm really into comedians. I enjoy guys like George Carlin, and I have everything from religion, God. Obviously, it's God TV radio. I mean, you name it, I talk about everything, and I'm also a gamer.
Very cool. Any particular, as far as games go, which ones you dig? Is it shooters or RPG or?
I like role-playing games,
Very cool.
MMOs, but mostly if I had to get stuck with one company, it'd be Bethesda.
Oh, nice. Very cool. I was a 17-year veteran of World of Warcraft, so I'm deeply familiar with it. Yeah.
There you go, man. World of Warcraft, the rules.
Oh, I was in there for so long. This is the first time I'm actually taking a break. I didn't after the events that took place behind the scenes, kind of like the stuff with their content designer, what they did with Sylvanas, and of course all the stuff that came out, like the atmosphere of like sexual discrimination and sexual assault and all kinds of stuff that was going on at Blizzard. And then of course when you have a place in your headquarters called the Cosby Room, we need to reevaluate our relationship. And then the new expansion got announced, Dragonflight, and I just wasn't impressed after what happened with Shadowlands. So I've decided to take a break for a bit, and I'll just catch back up later. But I was a pretty avid player for 17 years nonstop. I was a pretty hardcore WoW player. But we got to draw the line sometimes. Sometimes corporations can't just do whatever the hell they want. But as far as that goes, now the big point about having you on the show tonight was about this discussion that you had. It was essentially context for this discussion that you had with Matt Powell. Now, what we saw, I wanted to really take a look and make sure that we weren't getting one side of the story, because we heard what I assumed to be a voicemail from Matt, and then we got the images that you showed in your video of the text messages between you. But there wasn't any kind of before or after on this. Now, we all know, and we understand, I know you understand as well, that Matt can be a very vitriolic figure as far as fundamentalist Christianity goes. But you've had him on your show a lot. You've had him on your channel. You've done debates. You've hosted debates with him before in the past. I've covered them myself on my channel, where I've dissected how Matt kind of misrepresents the outcomes of certain debates by carefully editing them after the fact. So I've done that. But you had a kind of professional relationship there. But what was the context? Like, what happened that led to this? Because it just came out of the blue. And I don't believe for a second that this kind of like conversation just like spontaneously erupted between you two.
Well, it actually associates itself with Kent Hovind. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, so I've got a lot of religious friends as well as non-believer friends, and I didn't know about Matt Powell and his background. If you were to watch his videos directly, you might get the idea that he's just some kid who's talking about Jesus and how he feels about God. But I didn't know about any of his extracurricular type of views and ideas. People started coming to me, both non-believers and religious, saying, Brett, you're always saying God loves everybody and that you love people, but you're hanging out with a homophobe who wants to execute homosexuals. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Where is this coming from? Because he doesn't have videos like that on his actual channel. So
right.
you can't see that. Well, I went into a kind of like a show like this where there was a bunch of atheists. We were all chilling, and they brought this up to me. They said, are you familiar with what Matt Powell's been doing? And I was like, what are you talking about? So they started playing videos. You can do that on a StreamYard, play clips. And apparently on a YouTuber's channel called Skylar Fiction, he made a video a couple years back saying something about wanting to use the government's power, turn it into a theocracy, and kill a whole lot of people. But humanely is how he put it, as though that made it better. I was like, what? What is this? So I'm sitting here with all these folks going, oh my God, I didn't know that was the deal. So I got a hold of Matt and I said, Matt, what's the problem, man? You sound like Steven Anderson, that hate preacher running around America.
The new IFB. Yeah, really gnarly stuff. Yeah.
I also, as you probably know, Matt Powell was living with Kent Hovind. They just recently separated and stuff from that relationship, but he was down at Dinosaur Adventureland, and I even asked Kent on a live show. I said, "Do you agree with Matt Powell on executing homosexuals and all this?" And he goes, "Well, that's what the Bible says." And I said, "Well, Kent, the Bible also says to kill adulterers, and you've been married 4 times, sir." So he was very irritated at me about that, but for some reason he just wanted to focus on homosexuality and nothing else, of course. So that's where I'm at. I called Matt up. I got the cute little message you heard on that atheist channel, and that's where we're at today.
Wild. So okay. So you went into this kind of like with working with Matt, and I remember there was I know one particular debate that you hosted between him and another gentleman that his name escapes me at the moment. But he dined out on that debate for a while, and he's chopped it up on his channel. He's like massacred that to make it look like he was in the right on that. When if you watch the thing, if you go to your channel, if anybody in the live stream goes to Brett's channel, you can catch that debate and you can see what really went down because Brett put that up in its entirety. So you have the intellectual just honesty working for you on that one. You put it up and let people take their own opinion from it. He chops it up and tries to make his opponent look bad in that respect by careful selective editing. So, but you had no so you essentially kind of walked into it and had no concept of what Matt was really holding, the kind of like the positions he held regarding certain individuals in our community.
Well, you know how it is when you meet YouTubers, you watch their videos and you say, "Hey, that seems like a pretty cool guy." And then when you talk to him personally, no one ever asks that question. "Oh, by the way, are you genocidal? Are you a sociopath?" You know, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. All I seen was this nice Matt Powell up on his videos, and I thought, wow, he seems like somebody I would like to, talk to and get to know. I've been for the longest time trying to find good Christian community members, and I absolutely thought that him and Kent might be on the level, but I have found out a whole lot of sense. And people are telling me I'm a flip flop, and I go, no, I thought they were nice at first. Turns out they're genocidal sociopaths. Now I don't. That's not a flip flop.
That's recognized. That's that whole when you look up when you look at your hat and you see the skull on it, and then you wonder, are we the baddies? That whole kind of thing. As a reference, I know people out there will get that reference that I'm referring. Oh, that sketch that I'm referring to is the two German officers who look at their hats and go, "Are we the baddies?" Yes, absolutely. So this is intriguing because I brought this up when I was talking with Johnny over at the Plot Hole, and we were discussing this particular, and it was with Aaron Reese from who's Media Macabre, and we were discussing this stuff, discussing this Matt Powell's content. Now I've long been familiar with Matt Powell's profound, almost, I hazard to say, projectionist hatred of the LGBTQ community. It goes to a near pathological level. And so I wasn't terribly surprised that all of this came out. But I was aware that there had been kind of like a working relationship there between you and him. And the big thing that I brought up, which is interesting because you said that after kind of standing up against him, would it be fair to say you've gotten some flack since you did that? People called you flip-flopping, that you kind of that are they making, are you getting the arguments that you're not a true Christian in that respect, or have you seen some kind of backlash from the Christian community?
I've been called everything from backslidden to the devil to the Antichrist. You got Kent, who's supposedly got 200,000 subscribers. I believe most of them are paid subs. And then you got Matt Powell, who's 15,000 range. My YouTube channel, I terminated about a year and a half ago, so I'm sitting at like 300, 400, where I had thousands and thousands of subs. So I got all these people from all these different groups who think I'm just terrible for, how dare you go against the priestess of Matt Powell and all that kind of attitude. So yeah, it's terrible. It is terrible.
So here at here at my channel, so I'm an atheist, and I provide the content that I produce has a strong focus on rationality, on reason, on logic, on science, on evidence, and how we can look at irrational beliefs and the irrational behaviors that often follow them, and how we can bridge the divide the bridge the societal divides that are created by these things with rationality, education and reason, and try to find how we get to these, how we can correct them. So I've always held the position that people can believe whatever they want to believe, but it's a matter of from a social perspective what they put out into society and how this reflects upon like these kind of what I view as irrational beliefs. We can hold them. We have every right to hold them. You have the right to believe what you want. But when they begin to affect others in a negative or an antisocial capacity, they need to be reevaluated because societal division is really what's gonna end us. If there's anything that's gonna end our species, it's societal division and what is justified or what is done in the name of that societal division. You appear to have you've come across as you have kind of like the same mentality in that respect, that people can believe what they want to believe and we can find common ground. My big argument has always been that there is not enough members of the Christian community who are willing to rebuke those that essentially kind of fly in the face of Christianity's kind of ultimate message. That there is a message there, that they believe that Christ had a message, and that ultimately it's about love and acceptance. When it comes to it's about community. It's about we're all in this together kind of thing, and we can find that common ground. But just flat out rebuking people in death and destruction is not a part of it whatsoever. You called Matt out on that, but I've always said that there's not enough of that, and I think there's not enough of it because of what you encountered. Would you agree with that? Or do you have a different take?
I agree with you. I believe that social media Christians should stand up whenever they see something. I got to tell you, I'm tired of people coming to me behind the scenes and telling me, oh, just forgive him, let it pass and all that. But that's not the only thing either. There's another issue you may not even know about, but apparently Kent Hovind got in trouble a while back because he was allowing pedophiles to come to Dinosaur Adventureland and stay there. He had a guy called Chris Jones come up there with a kid. And I talked to Matt. That was one of the things. Unfortunately, your Creaky guy or whatever his name is, he didn't play the whole video because there was a lot more to it. You can see it later if you want, and it's also on my Spotify for people to check out. But I asked Matt, I said, you say all this stuff about pedophiles, but you're up there living with them. You're actually allowing them to actually stay at the building and do all this, yet you talk all this mess. I mean, it seems kind of hypocritical, but you're right. I do think that Christians should step out more. I don't like hearing about Catholic priests being moved around and all that. I think people like that should be in prison.
Gotcha. And yeah, my fellow content creator Johnny O over at the Plot Hole was doing a massive investigation into what went down with that particular individual that you mentioned who was staying on the compound and the kind of hypocritical position that put Kent and Matt in, and then of course the insane kind of these weird, insane justifications, like this conspiratorial thinking to try and alleviate him of that hypocrisy. Is like, no, they had it out for him, and it was all lies, and the system itself, and blah blah blah. When the dude was convicted by a jury of his peers, the guy went down, and this is the result of this, and and how he was willing to kind of, what I think. That irrational beliefs, that the ability and the habit of holding irrational beliefs kind of opens up people to conspiratorial thinking or magical thinking in that respect, that they will look to anything to try and avoid that criticism or that look of hypocrisy. So it's awesome that you recognize this immediately as far as what Kent is doing, as far as what Kent was doing, as far as the hypocrisy of Matt Powell in that respect. Now, as far as it goes in the future, I don't know, did Matt have a response to, because he said what he said, then you were like, whoa, and this kind of blew up, and then you said, okay, I have this new information, I'm going to bring it to Matt. And was that voicemail, was that all that Matt said, or is this, and is the wall up, or has this continued on further?
Well, it's not just the dangerous behavior that they have about them. Kent Hovind's basically promoted eugenics and wiping out different groups out there. And he tries to do it in such a nice, humane way, just like Matt Powell put out. But I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of folks out there, and I've really been questioning. I totally believe in God and have the respect for that and love having discussions about it, but I don't want to be associated with a group that thinks it's okay to go out and harm non-believers, homosexuals, people of any kind of groups, whether it's about their skin color or anything like that. If this keeps up, I'm going to just say I'm a theist and get the hell away from these people.
That's interesting because I think it's fair to say that Christianity, in and of itself, and for some reason, has mutated to a state that it's become more of kind of like just something that you hold on to like a cultural identity. I have long argued that Christianity, to like modern Christianity, is really more like deism, because they've defined God into a category that is literally unfalsifiable. That it's assertions about this thing that are either just direct violations of what we know about reality in respect. So, like a metaphysical mind without a body that's spaceless and timeless, and is the ontological source of all truth and knowledge, and it instantiates intelligibility. It was like, what? So God has gone from what we can determine in the Bible to like this metaphysical thing that can never be verified if it exists or not, and so he pushes to this degree. And now, so I've long argued that Christianity has really become deism with a Yahweh label slapped onto it, so they can maintain persecution complexes and kind of their cultural identity. They can say, "Oh, I plant this flag here. I'm a Christian, and that's what I am." And instead, it's not really that way. So, from your perspective, having encountered this, and of course the backlash from having kind of like you daring to question Matt Powell in that respect, and Matt Powell and His Highness Kent Hovind, having seen that, do you think it's kind of gone off the rails, that it's too far away from the original message, that Christianity itself has just mutated into this thing? Has it gone too far? Is it lost, or does it need to get back to basics?
Well, one of the reasons why I ended up finding out a lot of the things I did about Kent and Matt Powell's issues wasn't just because Matt Powell was running his mouth. There were decent Christians in the background who did say, "Look, man, you're hanging with the wrong crowd. This is the bad form of Christianity you don't want to brand yourself with." So I do want to make sure there has been some cool Christians who are totally against it as well. But I think some people aren't just worried about getting yelled at by other religious people, but there's a big game on YouTube where if you go out against somebody, suddenly a big YouTuber can send their subs and their viewers to get you for hate speech and
Right.
flag you down and all that. And that's actually one of the reasons why I think my old channel went down. I don't know if you knew this, but you could check this on Odyssey and my radio, but Kent Hovind's former wives were coming on my show talking about abuse and all kinds of issues. And then suddenly my channel went, wow, strike after strike.
Huh. That's wild. So I would not put brigading past Kent Hovind or Matt Powell. I absolutely wouldn't do that at all. Like, they'll rally up their little congregations of their sycophants or whatever, and they'll send them after whoever. And I know that, and I and a lot of the people in my live chat suspect that they have a lot of sock accounts that they will jump around, and they'll like post up comments just to stir the pot or do whatever on other people's channels. Any dishonest tactic that they can come up with in order to try and further. I would have no doubt that since you're on this, we have some of them in my live chat as well. They just haven't spoken up yet. So I find it's intriguing. It was refreshing when I heard that this was with you. I found it really, really refreshing that someone was willing to stand up and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because you're both calling yourselves Christians. There's the difficulty in falling into the no true Scotsman fallacy in that. Because you can say, you're not a true Christian, but he can turn around and say, you're not a true Christian. How do you determine what a true Christian is? It comes down to interpretations of the text. It comes down to hermeneutics. It comes down to a number of factors: the way you feel about a thing, what you intuit, how you were up, bringing it, how you were brought up. That's one of the biggest issues that I have with it, is that there's no way to determine where like the line of truth is up through all this, unless you boil it down to basically what you said, theism, which I can understand. Kind of just being a deist and holding to certain moral standards makes a hell of a lot more sense than engaging with a group that is willing to embrace such gruesome, societal division to the degree of modern genocide and stuff.
Well, JL, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head on something, especially the way people are raised and the way they're brought up. I don't know how much you know about me or my history in social media, but I was a former atheist for many, many years. I was even doing videos against religion and God, all that stuff. It was only a couple of years ago I ended up becoming claiming to be a Christian. But I said in my videos, I preferred just being called a theist the whole time. But I accept Jesus, so a lot of people said that should probably be with what you do. So
That's interesting. See, that's interesting, because I have had a lot of theists on my channel. I've engaged with them a lot in Discord stages, the stages that I do on the politics Discord server. So I've been doing this for a while. I've encountered many a Christian, or many an individual who claims to be who takes a Christian label today and claims that they were once an atheist. Like, I used to be an atheist and now I'm a Christian. So I'm very, very curious. And God equals the square root of -1. He's I see you in the chat. Thanks, bud. It says he was a former atheist. What does that mean? And that's kind of where my question goes. So you were a former atheist, meaning you did not hold to a belief in God or gods, and now you do. So what was it? What was the evidence that convinced you?
all right. So I've had a couple different, it would obviously be something I can't send over on a plate to you, but I had a personal experience. And also, I didn't feel like the reason why I'd become atheist in the first place defined as lacking a belief in deities. That's how I classically seen it. I used to tell people, if you give me evidence, you give me information, then I'll entertain it. I'm open-minded. I'll listen type of attitude with it. Um, as far as when in my young years, whenever I was about 20 years old, my wife and I had a child, and our child ended up, according to the doctors, wasn't going to make it. So I ended up, because of tragedy, and also I'd lost my mother around the same time. I said, there can't be a God. There can't be any of this stuff. Well, what ends up happening is my child did make it. She's 20 years old today. She's doing great. And I remember saying, if there's a God, he would not allow this to happen, this to go down. Spent a lot of time in a children's hospital, too. It was miserable. So, yeah, for a long, long stint, I'd say a little over a decade, I was doing that. But you kind of heal over time.
So in that respect, I mean, and it's fantastic that your child made it and has come this far, 20 years. It's awesome. Now, as far as it, and I know that medical prognoses can be extraordinarily dire because the authority of medicine, doctors in and of themselves, and I can see the kind of emotional leap there, the idea of that and what's behind that. And I think this is where we get into the realm of discussing like what justifies going out in the world and proselytizing and evangelizing to others, and like winning souls and stuff like that, to just holding on to the kind of spiritual notion that something exists and something is out there. Where would you say you kind of fall in that?
What do you mean? I don't see myself as a person who goes out and prophesizes. I make a YouTube channel. I'll talk about my views and ideas, but I do not want to irritate people out in public or make them uncomfortable walking up to them and doing that. See, on a YouTube channel, I feel like if people want to hear it, they can come to the channel and listen. If they want to hear my radio, that's their decision or choice. I'm not going to like go to somebody's thing and just push it all over them. I don't think that helps to sow seeds at all.
I totally agree on that. And I'm going to hazard, would you kind of state that if you were supplied more evidence, you're open to more evidence coming along, that if more evidence came along that eliminated the possibility of such or reduced the idea to something like the biblical concept is completely incorrect. It's more of a kind of this, that you're open to more evidence, and your ultimately your worldview can encompass that in an intellectually honest way. Would I kind of paraphrase you there correctly?
Are you basically asking me if there's anything that might be able to be said or whatever that would move me away from believing in a God?
Yes.
Well, as you probably have realized, if you took a look at my channel, I do shows, and I make them all public. I allow atheists to come in all the time, and usually the arguments are arguments about evil and suffering in the world.
Right.
It's about that. But I've never heard anybody like give a good scientific reason why I should be against it. When I look at common beliefs like the Big Bang or whatever, I see this as almost supernatural by definition, how they describe it to me. As far as this is another reason why some Christians get on to me, but I'm not one of these young earthers. I do not believe that the earth is 6,000 years old. I don't believe the universe is less than 10,000 years old. So as you can see, I'm getting myself in trouble by not agreeing with a lot of these different views. And I'm definitely not a flat earther. I think the earth is personally pizza shaped.
A pizza from every angle.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, so that's intriguing. So yeah, I get that a lot of atheists, and what I find is a lot of kind of new atheists, not in like new atheism, but kind of like people who have recently come to say that I am an atheist. They'll run into this. They run into the scenario where they look at the evidentiary problem of evil or the logical problem of evil, and what these do is they eliminate certain aspects of the God. They essentially they propose a logical contradiction between a God that is defined with specific attributes and the existence of these things in reality. And so they look at these and they say, well, logical contradictions can't exist. And because logical contradictions can't exist, then this logically contradictory defined God cannot exist. So, but all that really does is, in their minds, in kind of like the newborn atheist kind of way, in their minds, that completely eliminates God from contention. But that really, from what you've really studied and gone into these things, it only really kind of starts the conversation, because you may eliminate certain aspects of a god, or you may eliminate a god with certain attributes, but that still doesn't eliminate like deism in and of itself. So deism, like the creating entity that doesn't interact with us and just kick the football in the universe and then pissed off with no evidence left of its existence. Entirely plausible. There could be something like that out there. It was before the observability that was given by the Big Bang. So when you look at that, and it's like, yeah, we can't eliminate it from contention. It's completely unfalsifiable. Now, I can reject that on methodological natural grounds, but ultimately, you can't. It's not a zero sum. It's not just like, no, that's absolutely not the case. We can't say that with any intellectual honesty. And it just pushes it more and more towards deism. So yeah, I can get that like this. My focus more on is just the recognition that drawing certain conclusions based upon emotional states, that you feel a certain way, or because you've encountered a certain event or external stimuli, that you have an emotional response to that, and then you draw a conclusion from that emotion. In essence, you have a child that's been given a dire prognosis, and then the child manages to defeat that prognosis with the intervention of the versatility, like the incredible versatility of the human body and its ability to heal, and modern medicine. But then you look at that and you say, wow, the emotional weight of that. They told me he was going to die. My child has survived. I made this declaration. If my child dies, there is no God. Then the child doesn't die. Maybe there's a God. And it kind of leans you over to that. I understand the psychological jump to that, the emotional jump to that. But I think you come off very much as like, in the sense that you recognize that that's enough to get you there, but it's not something you can predicate an entire world on. And given better information, better evidence, it can change, but it serves a psychological utility for you, which is fine in a sense. Just like meditation serves a utility for other people. For other people, I consider prayer the exact same way. So it comes off in that. Now, if I'm getting you wrong on that, then I apologize. But I think the conversation goes deeper. I think if you want to talk like a scientific perspective, the way I always approach is this: that if you don't take any kind of like interpretations of God beyond what the Bible it says, assuming nothing. That if you go simply by what the Bible states, that the Bible states, I know this kind of varies depending upon the version of the Bible. So typically, because a lot of loudmouths go by the KJV, even though it's like ridiculous. But even going back to the Hebrew text or the Latin Vulgate or the Septuagint, if you take the concept of God, the Abrahamic God. So the Abrahamic God is all-knowing and all-powerful in that respect, and its nature is immutable. So in other words, it knows all true propositions, being omniscient. It knows all true propositions from beginning to end of its creation, and it is capable of any action that does not entail logical contradiction. So any action it can do is demarcated as a true proposition. So anything it does is true because it knows all true propositions. It can't act out of accordance of its own omniscience. So it knows all true propositions, is omniscient, and it is capable of any action that does not entail a logical contradiction. Like God can't make a square circle or a one-ended stick in that respect. And it can't act out of accordance of its omniscience because any action it does would be a true proposition. So, given this state, what we know about reality today and the relationship between the uncertainty principles in quantum mechanics and the second law of thermodynamics in that respect, that the knowledge of the position of a particle pushes us further away from the velocity of that particle. And so knowing these things, one of the fundamental aspects of essentially the structure of our reality is the uncertainty principle, that we can only know one, we cannot know the other. That knowing both implies a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Now, if you violate the second law of thermodynamics, you get a demonstrably different looking universe than the one that we currently exist in, especially one that's like 14 billion years old. So, if the entity exists, and the entity knows everything, knows all true propositions, that means it inherently by nature, by its immutable, unchanging nature, knows the position and velocity of all particles in its creation. That knowledge alone, simply by possessing that, by being essentially omnipresent, like all over, it essentially is everything, violates the second law of thermodynamics. Meaning that the structure that we understand of our universe cannot exist with such an entity existing in tandem with it. Now, does that mean such an entity doesn't exist? No, it does not. What this concludes to us is that if such an entity exists, then it is demonstrably interfering with its effect on our reality. It is either demonstrably separated from it, or it's hiding, obfuscating, using its power to obfuscate the effects of that. So the God operating in our reality would result in a demonstrably different looking reality. Our universe wouldn't look the way it looked if this entity was running around operating within it. Unless, of course, it was hiding that from us, hiding the evidence from it, using its all-powerful, using its all-powerful nature. And then, of course, or if it simply separated itself from this reality, doesn't operate within it, and doesn't deal with it in any way. There is no exchange of energy between the two. So that also just pushes it towards deism. Deism or dystheism. Like the malevolent God that deceives us, or the deist God that doesn't interact with us, that created us but then just doesn't do anything and doesn't react with us. So it pushes us to that. Or atheism, because it's predicated on, is there sufficient evidence to believe that one of these things exists? There is not, so therefore the intellectually honest answer is atheism in that respect. So, but as far as the biblical Christian God exists, that is a thing that cannot exist by the way it is understood in the Bible that it supposedly gave us.
That's fair enough. My philosophical positions are maltheism, dystheism, as well as I'm what is referred to as an annihilationist. So this, obviously, I don't know if you know what dystheism is and maltheism is.
Just by the prefix, I think I can derive what it's about. If you're talking about like dystheism, or like a dystheism in the sense that it's a malevolent god, maltheism is that it's a god that's evil intended, or...
I believe that God has dual natures, and this is something a lot of Christians don't agree with me. I believe that it can do something that's benevolent. I believe that it is capable of doing good, showing attributes of love. But I also believe that it can destroy, cause wrath, pain, and suffering, and all these things. The reason why I'm not a deist, from what I remember, the classic sense of a deist is a God that isn't interactive with the human race, which is what you're getting at. It's basically hiding in the universe, watching reruns of the X-Files or something. I get that.
I like that.
The issue, though, is that there's I mean, I'm not trying to make some kind of popular fallacy argument here, but billions of people throughout time have claimed to have similar views or see something or experience something. I consider myself a pretty intelligent guy, but I can't like say that every person out there. Sure, I can say some people are lying, some people are crazy, some people are suffering from tumors that are pushing on their frontal lobes, but
Or type 1, type 2 errors, as the human brain is prone to. We tend to misidentify stuff all the time.
right.
Pareidolia, apophenia.
Right, but there
Right.
may be some people out there. I haven't met everybody in the world to be able to simply say, you're crazy, you're nuts, you're lying. So that leaves me open to the possibility that God is interactive, that he's not just sitting back, playing cards or whatever with the universe, or dice, as Einstein said.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It sounds like you're kind of on the you're kind of like on the border of that. It's not full fledged dive into Christianity, and which I completely totally understand. But it's not a willingness to kind of like abandon this concept that there may be some sort of connective tissue to the experiences that people have and how they interpret the universe, various phenomena that we either still can't explain or that we have gotten explanations for, but maybe aren't like explanations in totality. So I get that. I get the sense of that, the idea of that. Plus, not to mention the psychological utility of doing that, of having. I've always viewed it kind of negatively in that respect of kind of like having a purpose that is given to you instead of deriving one for yourself. But I understand that works for some people. But he also, you stated, it's not enough for you to go out and be like standing in Times Square with a microphone and an amplifier and just follow God or you're gonna die and go to hell and screaming this stuff at people in public.
Well, there's no reason to do that. Remember, I had said just a moment ago, I'm an annihilationist. I believe that if someone obviously doesn't meet the qualifications of whatever God has for people, their soul is simply destroyed. I don't believe in this Dante's Inferno where you get pounded on by demons for all eternity and all that. I also hate that people even use it as a fear tactic. I don't think that that's going to work in our modern age. I think that people need to go more towards science and try to use arguments for that. And I've heard quite a few good ones that I feel work. Even Hitchens said that he liked the fine tuning argument.
Gotcha. Yeah, and of course, one of Hitchens' favorite interlocutors was Francis W. Collins, who was the director of the NIH at Bethesda for like 16 years and was one of the heads of the Human Genome Project. Who, in his own words, expressed that reason and logic will not get. I think this is a direct quote from his book. That reason and logic will not get you to a God. That requires a leap of faith. You have to be willing to eschew the reason and logic to get to that point. Is like if you solely go by reason and logic, you'll never get to a God belief. So, and I think he expressed it the best. And then, of course, like just like you, Francis S. Collins isn't running around proselytizing to everybody and evangelizing everybody, trying to win souls for the afterlife in that respect. Like they're trying to meet some quota before the rapture takes place. So it's intriguing. And I like that this is a good example of a position of like if you choose to be a Christian, if you choose to believe the tenets of Christianity, this is an excellent position to be in because your position allowed you the latitude to stand up against Matt Powell's nonsense, his demonstrable like lunacy in regards to like let's commit modern genocide on a particular minority of the population, as though doing that would eliminate LGBT members of the LGBTQ community to be born in the future. It's profoundly idiotic, and the fact that he's spouting off statistics that he is taking wildly out of context, and I think you recognize that. So I wanted to say that it was refreshing to hear you have that take to stand up to it because I don't think enough Christians do that.
Well, I also told him whenever I was talking to him, I said, look, this ain't the Minority Report where you just assume that, someone's going to commit a crime or do something and you go out and cause them some kind of issue. That's not fair. That's not justice. And pretty much his idea is if you even wear the label of something, you're screwed. And the problem with people who want that kind of power over the government and theocracy, sooner or later, the very invention that they endorsed and supported is going to turn on them. It's going to destroy everybody because what does all Christians say? We sin daily. Well, if you're to kill people over that, if you're to kill people over adultery or a disobedient child and all this, we're not going to have humanity around anymore. It's ridiculous. That's how I see it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's ultimately self-defeating because it just, it just eliminates us unnecessarily. I would say eliminates us unnecessarily from the gene pool, and then you get a lack of genetic diversity, and then that's just the destruction of the species in the long run. It's like, like our own kind of artificial Toba's eruption. So really, really interesting stuff. And I really wanted to get the context of what happened, what led to this kind of like. I'm not going to say it's a falling out. I'm not going to assume it's a falling out. I don't know if the conversation continuing between you and Matt, or
No, it's not. Matt Powell and Kent Hovind and many unfortunate folks I've ran into, if you disagree with them on their theological views, then that's it. That's pretty much the end of the story. They'll say they're all about forgiveness, but they're not. They're not. If you don't change and go along with their rhetoric or whatever, it's over. That's how it goes, especially with social media folks a lot. May I ask you a question, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, sure.
I noticed that some people out there, I don't know if they were goofing on you or something, but they said that you believe in some form of ghost concept. I've actually, now don't be surprised, I've actually had a lot of non-believers in my room who do believe that they're more than just a hamburger or animated meat, that there's more to us. If it's okay to ask you that.
It is absolutely okay to ask me. Let me try and put the final nail in this coffin. All right. I do not believe in ghosts, like wandering spirits in that respect. It's an inside joke. Now there's going to be obligatory ghosts that show up in the chat. So, what it is an inside joke. The problem is I tried to speak about something and I did not articulate myself very well. I was trying to equate the idea that what people are interpreting as ghosts may be a sort of natural effect or natural phenomena that we don't yet fully understand, or we haven't fully explained yet. So, or maybe something to that degree. And I tried to bring in the idea of like something at the quantum level, or something. I like I said, I articulated myself very poorly on it. Essentially, what I was trying to say was that ghosts, or the effects of ghosts, may be something that human beings, may be a natural phenomena that we are just misinterpreting and misidentifying. Because of our pareidolia and our apophenia, we tend to see patterns in chaos. We tend to like derive patterns out of chaos, because that's what our brain does. It's a pattern seeking organ. It's baked into our survival imperative. And so we look for patterns, like seeing faces in the texture paint on your wall. There's no face there, but your brain will interpret it as a face because the pattern matches a face. Or it will try and connect the dots to make a face in that respect, much like looking at an image of four corners and then seeing the square, So in that respect, that's what I was trying to do. I didn't articulate myself very well, and I happened to be on the stage, in the video, with a geophysicist, with a guy who has a PhD in geophysics, and he got really, they made fun of me a lot. But it comes down to it, no, Clive Wells. Clive Wells is also a PhD at theoretical physics. Clive, let me know if I got that wrong. I don't think ghosts are real, but I'm not going to discount that people are not experiencing something. The problem is, I believe that what they are experiencing falls into the category of pareidolia, apophenia, and type 1, type 2 errors, and that they are just misrepresenting, or they're just misinterpreting or misidentifying what they are experiencing. Because that's typically predicated on the prior held beliefs that you have. If you believe that ghosts exist, and you encounter a phenomenon that the pattern of that phenomenon matches the kind of what you think are ghosts, then you're bound to claim, I saw a ghost. So, I do not.
I completely understand where you're getting at. If someone already is presupposed to religion and spirits and all that, then that's what they're going to see, especially if their bodies malfunction. And I get that. But I don't understand why it is, because I've had a lot of non-believers who believe in something beyond the flesh, something beyond the meat that's transcendent, I guess, is how they describe it.
Yeah, I'm not a mind-body dualist. I don't go in for any kind of, I would say, wishful thinking or magical thinking regarding what our consciousness is. that our minds, our consciousness, if you want to wrap those two up together in the same package, that essentially what we are, the kind of expression of what we are, is literally just the emergent property of a functioning brain. So when I say emergent property, because a lot of theists tend to have a problem with that, what that's meant by is that multiple things coming together and then an identifiable property emerging from the conjoinment of all those things. Like, for example, one ant cannot do the things, cannot be really said to be intelligent. But you get a million ants all together, and then you get a form of emergent intelligence from that hive group, where they can do things like build chains and create structures that require a varying level of complexity. That's an so the intelligence of an ant hive is an emergent property from the hive itself. All the things working together can produce other things. So very similar, our brains, the functioning brain, an emergent property of a functioning brain is our minds or our consciousness. Just like digestion is an emergent property of our stomach, or our heartbeat is an emergent property of all of our cardiac cells working in unison together. So it's kind of like along those lines. It's a very pragmatic view of it. Nothing goes beyond this. Once your brain is dead, that's it. Once the EEG flatlines, you're done. Or the EKG, electroencephalogram, EEG. Once the EEG flatlines, you're that's it. You're gone. Once you're brain dead, once you're biologically dead, you're clinically dead, you're toast. So
That's fair enough. You mind if I ask you another question, unless you want to move on to a different topic?
no, sure, go ahead.
Why do you, how do I put this? How do you think that pain receptors and the complexity of our nervous system came into existence?
So so like our nervous system in and of itself is just a result of evolution, and like this is how it evolved. Now, our nervous system is no different than the nervous systems of many species out there. In fact, there are species out there that have far more complex nervous systems than we do. Like, for example, jellyfish. So species that are in the jellyfish in that kind of like that group have incredibly complex nervous systems. Octopi have enormously complex nervous systems. And it's just by virtue of where they evolved at, because these are ocean dwelling. They've been around a hell of a lot longer than we have, and their interpretations of pain to a degree are somewhat, what we can say is different. Their external expression is different from ours, but we know that they register pain because they register the sensation and they react to it in a defensive manner. So our interpretation of that is no different than any other species. Our nervous system is just a result. How our nervous system works with the brain up here and the spinal column or the spinal cord and then the nerves that run through the body is no different than any other species. Just the way it looks is as a result of evolution, and the sensitivity of our nervous system is also a result of evolution. Is that version that if there was a version of humanity that was evolved and they felt pain, but it was more numbed. So it didn't that numbing sensation, like they didn't feel pain as intensely as we do, then they would be more apt to harm themselves more grievously, and the odds of them passing on their genes would be far limited. So because by virtue of not feeling the pain, they don't survive as often because they tend to get hurt more badly before they recognize that they need help. We get hurt and we automatically know we gotta take care of this. That intensity of our pain response is as a result of our evolution, because you need a very intense pain response to survive. If you didn't feel it at all, you'd wind up getting yourself killed because you didn't, or from an infection that you didn't feel the pain from. So, but we don't. We get that, and so it's just by virtue of our evolution.
See, what I'm getting at though is I understand why we have pain receptors in the nervous system and how our bodies react to being able to. You're right. We didn't feel pain. We could get injured. We wouldn't even know it. But you agree that nature doesn't have a consciousness. It doesn't even have pain in itself. You can step on the planet all day and it's not going to say, ouch, you're hurting me. What I'm wondering is, what is the mechanism, basically the carriage before the horse, that even started that with the nervous system, and how the signals are going back and forth like this?
So that basically just goes down to cellular biology and how if you want to trace this all the way back to like abiogenesis and how like the first cells began to form, then you can trace it all the way back to that and the early indicators of like what would become a nervous structure. In other words, simple-celled organisms that could react to external stimuli. In other words, the stimuli afforded by other microorganisms that were all around them. Things started extraordinarily basic. Like Surf said, things started very, very basically. So basically, kind of look at our complex nervous system, and you derive that down to its simplest thing, and that is the neuron. Okay, so from there we get everything else. So from there, as far as the nervous system goes, so you drive that down to its very base, and then even from the neuron itself, you can break that down even further. So you basically just start from the basic building blocks, and then build upon each other until eventually 3.5 billion years later, we have us. And the way we look is as a result of the selection pressures that chose for specific alleles and that selected for that positively selected certain alleles and negatively selected against others. So like if the evolutionary pressures were different, we would look remarkably different. If those evolutionary pressures were extreme to one way or the other. But like I said, the easiest way to look at it from a microbiology perspective or from an evolutionary biology perspective, draw everything down to its base kind of like components. And then those are the things that form first. And then everything built upon that. The mechanism of that, the process by which this takes place is what we call evolution. And the mechanism that drives it are selection pressures. In other words, certain things are chosen for, certain things are not. And so those unicellular organisms, those very basic things that had a higher degree of sensitivity than the other ones around them, because no two organism is identical. You'll have a population of like billions of these microorganisms, of these unicellular organisms. Some will be more sensitive to stimuli, like say external stimuli, something touching them or from light or whatever. You'll have some that are more sensitive and some that are less sensitive. The ones that are more sensitive are more apt to continue on and propagate. The other ones that are not are going to die off because they're either going to be devoured by something else or they're going to wind up in a situation where they just die off. And that's how that takes place. From those initial unicellular structures that eventually divided to the point where then things start splitting off, depending upon what alleles are selected for.
All right, well, fair enough. I appreciate you giving me a response on that. If you if you don't mind, if you're interested, I do shows sometimes. I'd love to have you on there. It is public, so you can bring your friends or whatever if you like.
That would be cool. Absolutely, that would be awesome. And of course, if I don't know if Powell is going to respond to anything. He typically doesn't. I did like a 3-video series because he dropped a bunch of videos in a row one time. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do like a 3-video series that tackles all of his nonsense. He has never responded to me. I don't think he's responded to me because I'm an unbeliever, but he or Hovind have not attacked me because I don't think my channel is big enough yet. So if I was like 50,000 subscribers, I think they'd start taking swings at me. But that I think that also goes to their intellectual dishonesty because they want the clout. They want to take swings at big channels, and they don't want to worry about taking swings at small channels. But which is kind of like pathetic in that respect. But nonetheless,
I can give you a hint on something. If you want to get their attention real quick without having to work your way up to 10,000 subs or something, just simply introduce yourself to someone by the name of Cindy Lincoln on YouTube.
I know that name, and that's going for the former relationship with Ken Hovind, correct? The one he manhandled.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And also, her property keeps on getting destroyed. She's only like a mile down the road. You may want to talk to her. She's got a good voice and a very fascinating story. And like I said, I do go against religious folks out there that cause people harm.
Gotcha. I think that's all we can really ask. When it comes to it, like I said, as far as bridging the divide goes, I think the important thing is recognizing that people are allowed to believe what they want to believe, but the moment those beliefs begin to affect the lives of other people that are outside of them or begin to try to influence legislation that we all have to live under, that's when we need to draw a line, and that's when we need to put a stop to it. And I applaud Christians like yourself or believers that like yourself that will stand up to this, because it's in keeping with the Bible. If you go by that, rebuking those that represent the faith incorrectly, and standing up and speak that truth against them. And I don't think enough people do that. I think that's one of the big failings these days, because individuals they're more concerned with being ostracized from the group, which from what you've given me here, I don't think you're concerned about that too much. Being ostracized from a group that advocates for death and genocide and destruction and all kinds of craziness. But ultimately, I think that's the important point: is that we can live and let live, so long as we aren't trying to bash each other over the head and tell people that you're wrong, you're all fucked up, you shouldn't believe this, you're going to go to hell, and blah blah blah, and try to make other people's lives miserable. So I think that's the common ground that we should all look for.
Well, that's what I hope for and all that. I want the world to be a better place, not where it's uncomfortable for some and just absolutely miserable for others. I want everybody to be able to get along. It's a pipe dream, though. I know. That's what I want, though. It was nice talking to you. Do you have any more questions for me?
No, that was actually pretty much it. I didn't want to draw any conclusions about the scenario until I got both sides of the story, and I wanted to get your take. I know that Matt will never come on here to talk to me, so I can only go by what he said, what he recorded himself saying, or what you recorded him saying. I can only go by that and your side of the story. So, but what he wrote, I didn't want to play that video because the stuff that he said in that was so egregiously disgusting that it doesn't need to be replayed. We know what he said. We know the things that he espoused. The point was that he said these things to another believer. And I wanted to get the context of it, like what led to this and what that believer thinks about this kind of like extremist fundamentalism. What your take is on that. And I think you conveyed that pretty well.
One thing that people have to keep in mind, though, sometimes I'll upload videos showing something that's negative or bad happening, but if I think that it's something that can cause my YouTube channel, it sends a copy over to Odyssey, and I also always put a video copy on Spotify as well as all my radio stations. So if anybody ever wonders why something disappears, remember it's always archived other places. I just don't want to lose my channel, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. YouTube can be a dangerous place. As a matter of fact, I myself am working on a video right now that is extremely touchy. That I don't know if may get demonetized. I'm not 100% sure, but it's something that needs to be said because it addresses Matt Powell. Not what he said here, but it addresses another video of his that is some pretty extreme stuff. That's what I gather from him. Matt Powell banks a lot of his what he's doing is he's emotionally manipulating his audience because he traffics in conversations that are extremely I would say have an extreme emotional effect on the listeners. So he will talk about things like, so when he talks about LGBTQ, he equates it to CP. Obviously there's no real equivalence there, but he traffics those two together because it makes it extreme. So he will cloak his conversations in extreme things in order to elicit an emotional response from his listener. The problem with this is that he does this on purpose so that anybody who tries to rebuke him winds up running the risk of reducing the impact of that extreme topic, like whether it's CP or whether it's Hitler or something of that nature. Anybody who tries to rebuke him and try to demarcate his lies from the truth runs a real risk of looking like a sympathizer or looking like a historical revisionist or something of that nature. That's why he chooses such extreme topics to play around in. Because if I go after them, then I look like a proponent of those things. Or people, if people like Ken Hovind saying, oh, eugenics and blah, blah, blah. Well, if I go and attack him and I try to explain, how eugenics is this and like this, then it looks like I'm reducing the emotional impact of like eugenics. People equate eugenics with like the wanton slaughter or the wanton murder of the unborn, and so, for genetic favoritism. But that's, there's more to it than that. But because I'm trying to do that and explain it, I come off looking sympathetic to it. So that's what they're banking on. They're banking on the emotional manipulation. That's why it's so hard to take big swings at them. But they do it on purpose. It's a total emotional manipulation. And my next video will be addressing something like that because it's got to be said. Because that's the whole point. They don't want us to address it. They don't want us to stand up and do it and potentially risk our reputations if we do it wrong. So we have to do it smart. We have to do it with research and evidence behind us so that we can show this is what they're doing to people. They are emotional. They're playing on your emotions to manipulate you into a line of thought that is completely disingenuous and comes from a place of malice. And so we have to be able to do that. So I'm going to take that risk myself.
I'm providing you 2 links in private chat here.
Okay.
That you may want to have these folks on your show. The first one's my community page where I'm sharing some people who also have some of the same thoughts I do. You'll definitely want to get a guy called TTOR on here. He is a Christian, and he could give you a lot more information than I ever could whenever it comes to all the stuff we've discussed. I hope that I've been helpful. But then we got another person here. That's Cindy Lincoln's channel right there. All you got to do is leave a comment and say, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. I'd love to have you on the show. And I guarantee she'd come up. If you talk to a guy named Atheist Jr., he's friends with her. He can probably, get you through the door so you can have a discussion with them about it.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. This has been really good, Brett. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and have a chat with me, bud.
No problem. I enjoyed the discussion. You seem like a pretty open-minded, smart guy, and really had fun with you.
Thank you, sir. You have a great one. Have a safe rest of your week, okay? All right. So that was Brett Keane. Had a nice little chat with him regarding, just wanted the context there about what was going on with the whole Matt Powell scenario. And of course, anybody that knows Matt Powell is just, it's absolute trash. His disgusting rhetoric. I didn't want to replay any of that. And, I know that Creaky did it, had it on his channel, and we addressed it again on Johnny O's. I wanted to get both sides of the story on that. So anyway, but I saw a lot of comments coming in. The super chats I starred so that I can address them here because I wanted to address those after the fact. Brett's being a little loud compared to you. So I'm going back. Let me see here. So I went all the way back. I'm gonna see if I can catch people's comments here. Let me see here. Boy, like that. James Apperson, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Says Brett Keane was at my channel an hour ago, wanted to talk with me, but a new mod muted him, and I didn't realize the mod muted until it was too late. Oh, dang. And I know that he had to go, so we tried to make it quick. And I was thinking about possibly doing like if people had questions or anything, but we were pressed for time, and I want to make sure that we actually got through everything. Let me see here. Oh, and thank you so much, Welsh News Network, for the membership gifts. I appreciate that. Thank you for helping to support the channel. Big time. Those help a lot. Raid Shadow Legends. That's hilarious. So Welsh News Network, appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Let me see here. Bye. Hello, Buster Jangle. Good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, I love you all. Now stop enabling me to slack off. Thank you so much for the gift. Awesome. Thank you so much. All the new members of the Godless Army. The first super chat came through was from Ed2276. And your beard is still looking awesome, JL. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Thank you. It's a little wily right now, but I got it kind of tamed. But you can see it kind of like twists and turns a little bit. You should see it when it's wet. It gets just rivulets. So... But thank you very much for 10 American dollars. Thank you, Ed2276. I appreciate that super chat. It really helps out around here. Tony Redeems says Dr. Peel has an inflatable Ken Hovind in his house called Matt Powell Official. He absolutely does, spelled cunt wrong. That's hilarious. Let me see here. The man who says we came from rocks. Absolutely, yeah, Ken Hovind. Oh, could you imagine a debate between me and Ken Hovind? That would be insane. Atheist Chile since when? It's difficult when they bring up the idea that they were once atheists and became Christians, because then things get kind of dicey, because then you're going into how you interpreting your personal experiences, how much emotion went into that, how much evidence went into that, and things can get kind of dicey on that. I don't like putting people through the screws when they come to these kind of emotional conclusions, because you don't want to tell them they didn't experience what they experienced. But when you challenge that, you hit them at their core. That becomes problematic. There's a time and place for that, and I didn't feel that this was it. Dr. Nimrod says, I am more of a doctor than Ken Hovind. You are. You absolutely are. Absolutely. Let me see. I can't believe they still get a follow. Yeah, it blows my mind as well. They still get a following. Charlie Welch. Yeah, it gets me. It's just why it's wild. Let me see here. Soup Kettle, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here. And let me see here. I didn't get a chance to ask Brett if he'd seen McKinnon Mitchell's documentary about Ken Hovind. I should have asked him that, because if he hasn't, he needs to watch that. It's really amazing. Just running through here to make sure I didn't miss anything. Solid. Let me see. Second, thank you, NANA, for the super chat for $666 American dollars. Says, JL, don't be ashamed that you really want to believe in ghosts. I don't want... you guys are killing me. Killing me. Juicy B has become a new member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much, Juicy B. I appreciate that. Thank you. Enjoy all the emojis that I've created for you, and of course the channel badge. So thank you so much for joining and helping to support the channel. I do appreciate it. Aaron Reese, good to see you, bud. Says I would put brigading. I would put brigading past Kent's technical abilities, though. Right there with his high tech live stream audio. Good point. His tech sucks, but I know he's got kids around him. He's got people. He's got people a little bit more tech savvy around him who do that for him. I have no doubt. And they'll just go out and swing at anybody who calls him. Who says he's full of shit. Yep, God equals square root of -1. Good point. Inoculum Fears here. Good to see you. So be careful with this trickster. Brett is a slippery guy right up there with Ken Hovind. I have heard this in the past. I didn't want to assume anything. And from what I can tell, it didn't seem very slippery here. I think it went fairly well. But I see a number of people in the live chat equated that, you got to be really careful. Javier Hara said the exact same thing. So be careful with this guy. I know him since the day he flip-flopped between atheist and theist. Ask him if he remembers all the time. The crowd of Talking Shit Tuesday. The time the crowd of Talking Shit Tuesday destroyed him. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to jump into that. So my bad on that one. That would have been intriguing. Sorry if I missed that. Oh, hang on a sec. Jay Verse, thank you so much. Jay Verse super chat for 10 American says, Brett, would you say that you're open to acknowledging your understanding of God changes when new science contradicts assumptions about him? Because I don't see anything wrong with that. I didn't ask him specifically that, but I did try to ask him as to his intellectual honesty. And I think he kind of got through there that he's holding on to that. And I know it provides a utility for him, but, you do what you can. And maybe he would. I think he probably would. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't want to assume anything about what he would or would not do. That's why I gave him my argument. That's why I presented the one that I did. Now, so he'll have that to go and think about. Or he'll just dismiss it out of hand. Totally up to him. Aaron Reese says, "Here goes JL. Here JL goes trying to kill God again." Oh, but it's just too easy. Clive Wells says, "Oh, JL is about to talk about his belief in ghosts. You can tell when he talks about the second." Clive, you are killing me. You realize that because you have a PhD and that people are just gonna, you're gonna sway the audience against me, man. Come on, dude. I know y'all are just fucking with me. Insane Angel, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate Colorado Biker as well. Good to see you, bud. Thank you so much. No, Insane Angel, I see yours. It says your messages aren't hidden. I see them. Absolutely. Let me see. Kick my ass, you. Just call me Avi. Good to see you. Coming through. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Nitty, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here, as well as Epiphanies. Good to see you, Epiphanies. Thank you so much for being here. Says, and how do you know for certain that faith in God is false? Because of science. Because of science, there cannot be anything other than science. I'm not a religious person. I reject organized religion. I agree with that as well. But I don't... the idea that there can't be anything other than science is kind of a misstatement. It's not about that there can't be anything but science. It's that science provides the methodology we utilize in order to determine the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. That's the important thing. By equating science, it's either science or this, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of what science is. Is that if this thing does exist, then science will provide the methodology we need to determine if it is real, or if this thing is here, we have a concept or a hypothesis. Now, science will provide the methodology we need in order to determine if the hypothesis is false or true. So that methodology has thus far rendered the God hypothesis as something that is not true, that is imaginary, and something that is not reflected by reality. So yeah, science is the tool we will use to determine if God is real or not. Because even if God existed, science would still function. If God doesn't, science still functions. So it's important to state those things correctly for what they do. Let me see. Scrolling through. Bunch of hail Sagans. Thank you, Dr. Nimrod. Appreciate that. This guy's duplicitous. Don't give him 1 inch of your hand. He will take your whole arm and your wallet too. Interesting. I didn't get that sense, but wow. Cindy Sue, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Member of the Godless Army, Steve6464. Thank you so much for being here as well. Thank you for all of the obligatory ghosts from Jason Hyatt, Buster Jangle, Clive, Tony Regime, Aaron. Appreciate that. Love all the ghosts. Thank you very much. Y'all are killing me. JL not articulating himself. I know. You know, it's weird, right? It's very weird. JL Truth and PJ Net were really good chums. JL Truth, that thing is killing me. I remember that when I did that as a joke. And, you know, I was trying to be funny when I did that. Let me see here. Dr. Nimrod, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, ho, 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 ho. Hello, children. Ho, 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 ho. Thank you so much, Dr. Nimrod, for 249 euros. I believe those are. I believe those are euros. They look like euros. This could be euros. I think they're euros. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're euros. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss. Oh, and I saw Welsh News Network. Thank you so much for the super chat. £2 just hit the 1K subs. Congratulations, Welsh News Network. Way to go. Fan-friggin-tastic. Congratulations to Welsh News Network for hitting 1,000 subs. Well done. Well done. And thank you so much for the super chat. Very congratulations to you, and I wish you all the best for the future of your channel. Thank you very much. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss any others. We're good there. All right, going all the way down to the bottom. And, yep, okay, I got them all. Fantastic. I do want to make sure I didn't miss any of those. Do they quake like Euros? Or do they quack like Euros? That's funny. Ken Hovind has watched too much VeggieTales. This is true. And Dr. Nimrod says, PJC Net is a self-confessed Poe. Believe that. Belka Welsh says, thank you for the members. Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Oh, thinks Irish is lurking. Like Irish Demon? I don't know if Irish is lurking. That'd be hilarious because he never comes to my... he never comes over to my chats. Gosh of Heckfire says, I've been lurking. Great talk. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, Gosh of Heckfire. Do appreciate that. Absolutely amazing. Is Irish Demon here? Irish Demon outed lurking by a gifted membership. Really? I didn't see his name in there. Of course, I don't see all the gifted membership deals. Was he hanging out? He got gifted a membership. Well, what do you know? Because Irish Demon wasn't a member of my channel. Sir. I call you out. It's been forever since, you know, we've been on a chat to get ghost memberships. That's amazing. So yeah, the whole purpose of this one tonight was I wanted to have a conversation with Brett. Brett was available. I wanted to talk to him about the situation with Matt Powell, and because I think he ran when that happened. Well, there's one way to check. There really is. I can just go here, and I'll just go to my channel, and I will put on the live chat, and then I will tap. Yep, he's not here now. He is not. Let me see here. Next time you could be a lucky recipient of a Bridge the Divide gift membership. Welsh News Network for 5 memberships, and Bam Bam Irish Demon was gifted a membership by Welsh News Network. Look at that. So he was in here. He was hanging out. That sneaky Irishman. He left as soon as he got exposed. Why doesn't he interact with me? Why doesn't he interact in there? He ghosted me! Yes, Jason Hyatt. Irish Demon ghosted me. What the hell is with it? That's not cool. Proof that God isn't omnipresent. He didn't get a membership. This is very true. Run, Demon, run! Thank you, Celeste Summer. Oh, I can't believe he ghosted me like that. Celeste Summer said, I've been gifted a membership once when I wasn't actually present on a different channel, possibly Irish Demons, but I never understood how it happened. I only knew from the email note. Yeah, he doesn't come up. So either he was here and he bounced, or it gave it to him and he wasn't here. So I have no idea. I think he turned up. What is this? Martin H says, I think he turned up but got offended by you explaining how ghosts exist and left. That's hilarious, Martin H. You're just a funny guy. Thank you so much. Stop screaming. Was I screaming? Still waiting on the return of the Four Beardsmen. So, the Four Beardsmen is something that I really, really want to happen again because people seem to really enjoy it. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. So I really, really want the Four Beardsmen to make a comeback. I do. The problem is that it's a matter of time, of like timing. Just is Irish available now? We've been able to figure out because Johnny and I are in the same time zone, and I, PhD Tony didn't move, so we can coordinate with Tony. or we could coordinate with Irish. The difference is that Tony's been more amicable to coordinating with us for the Beardsman. Irish's channel just hit 30,000, and big huge congratulations to Irish for hitting 30,000. It's absolutely amazing achievement. Here I am. I'm slowly but steadily. I think I'm pushing towards 4 right now. Hopefully I'll hit 5 here very soon. Fingers crossed. By the way, thank you all so much for checking out my last video. That last video that I did about the bird brain creationist, that blew up in a way I never expected. I've never had a video hit 5K in like 2 days, or like less than 2 days, less than 48 hours, hit 5,000 subs. I was like, what the shit? That blew my mind. So thank you all for that. That was amazing. The algorithm really, really helped me on that one. So other than that, it was just a matter of, I think he's busy, and he's got things with his channel going on, and I know he's expressed that he wants to do Four Beardsman stuff again, but he may not be able to. In that respect, just because, as far as timing wise and how busy he is with his channel and how much he really, really wants to look at Chili DeCastro content, that's what he wants to do. And we hate Chili DeCastro, so. Ugh. Sorry, it's much safer to drink out of the bottle than it is to have a glass here and wind up spilling it all over my desk. So I get animated, as you can tell by the times I hit my microphone. Cindy Sue says, Bridge the Divide. Yeah, I know you don't see the gifted memberships. I gifted 5 members 2 of the weeks ago. You didn't see it. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Cindy. I apologize about that. It's just one of the limitations of StreamYard. Hopefully they'll change that up. Just Call Me Obvious says, possibly find alternate beardsmen. I have a beard, kind of. We've considered that. We've considered looking for potential replacement for the 4 beardsmen to kind of fill in where Irish left. So yes, I drink Diet Coke. I do. Hate is such a strong word, but chili, bah. Yeah, this is very, very true. I saw that he went live earlier today. He says, yeah, the ghost might knock the glass. Y'all are facty? I swear. Facty. You're killing me. Let me take before I potentially do something. I can has beard like this. Need a bad fireworks replacement. We probably do. We kind of do. So let me take the temperature of the live chat. There's 54 people in here right now, and I want to get people's kind of takes on this. As far as Chili DeCastro stuff goes, pardon me. As far as Chili DeCastro stuff goes, obviously Irish's channel is blowing up. That's pretty much what he looks like. The Sovtards, the Sovsits, and stuff like that. And it's working out very, very well for him, reviewing Chili's content. From y'all's perspective, do y'all like what I do here, or is that still popular enough that people really kind of want to see that stuff? Or do you want that kind of relegated to certain channels cover him and other channels cover stuff? And yeah, he covers Glenn as well. So I'm kind of curious. I'm taking the temperature because I haven't really talked about. I have no need to talk about Chili on this channel. I did my thing with Chili when I went down there and exposed him for the idiot that he is, and that was it. That's it. I exposed him as an idiot. Done deal. But I see that there's a lot of success there. People kind of really, really dig that. So I'm kind of curious if people want that. Do people want that, or do you like this channel being relegated to what the things that I talk about? Doctor Who Design says, I'm just here for the company. Very cool. Clive Wells says, not interested in soft sits. Jason Hyde says, no chili, please. Factory says, JL, you can mix it up a little more. Gosh Factor says, be true to you. I'll watch. Case Cooper says, I like what you're doing. I'd like you to keep doing what you do. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Wells News Network, thank you so much for the super chat for £2. Says, Hank has an amazing beard. Just saying. He does. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that, Welsh. Fred Edge says, I think your content is great. Mixing it up helps not let things get too serious. True. It's very true. Just Call Me says, no, I'm not into soft sits. Prefer your philosophy and science takes on idiocy. Awesome. Hildia says, I actually stopped watching Irish because too much chili. It does kind of get an overload of his level of just mental illness. I will say that. At a certain point, it feels. I may be singular on this, but at a certain point, it's like laughing. It's laughing at the mentally ill, and I think that there's I think PhD Tony was correct in his assessment that there is definitely a kind of emotional disturbance there. It's laughing at the emotionally disturbed, and we are just like, ha ha ha, look at you, you're fundamentally fucked up, and we're not, and we're gonna laugh at you for it. It became too much like Jerry Springer. Like, I'm watching this so I can reinforce, it's like, at least my life is not like his, and that's what it kind of became for me, which is why I kind of like took the step back from just, eating that stuff up. Soft sits in general as well, because now, if they predicate their stuff on like religious beliefs, I'm very curious as to how they do that. I would love to be able to talk with them or talk about them, but none of them ever do that. They always do that over misinterpretation of what the law is. They think that a law dictionary is going to help them to legislate in the street against a police officer, which is fucking insane. So, I don't know. I had enough of Chili de Castro, says Brian Powell. Clive Wells says, I'm just here for the ghost stuff. Fan-fucking-tastic. Thank you very much for that. Cindy Johnson says, hi, good to see you, Cindy. Ed2276 says, I'm done with Chili, prefer something different. Fantastic. Aaron Reese says, Chili could pitch himself in the heart through his own anus and he wouldn't have fucked himself up hard enough. I'm sick of hearing about him. Yeah, more ghost, and it says more ghost stuff. That's fucking fantastic. AJ Heap says, you do you, but I'm not fond of Chili content. I'm getting a sense that I see where the chat is kind of sitting. I get that. Chili in small doses, very small doses. I like this chili-free zone. Thank you, Cindy Sue. Appreciate that. And you have a knack for finding the deep philosophical threads buried in content. Appreciate that, Casey. Thank you very much. Dave, good to see you. Says, drop Chili unless he does something spectacularly stupid. Pretty much at this point, the only thing that would get Chili back on my channel is one of two things. One, he wants to have an actual conversation with me, like a back and forth with me. Or two, I actually go and run into him in real life, which won't occur unless I choose to do it. Well, if I ran into him at random, I'd probably pull out my phone and get that on tape, get that recorded. But if I deliberately go and run into him and have a back and forth, then that would be on there. But unless we like deliberately meet one another or encounter each other at random, in the real world, I don't think that I'll pretty much never cover him. So. Aaron Reese says, covering Chili too much will screw you in the algorithm. It knows this channel for one type of content. Yeah, it's true. He would conflict with that. It would. If Chili goes back into the I am religious deeply, then spank him. See, that's the weird thing. What about in a ring? Oh, I'd fight that motherfucker till the day is long. I would. Absolutely would. I would fight him. I would straight up. I absolutely would. And, I mean, giving whatever Chad, whatever things like this. No, I've stood toe to toe with the man. I've seen the face of the opponent, and the face of he is nothing. I would I would actually be concerned about what I could potentially do to him, and because the reason I don't like that, the reason I don't like going there is because number one, it's risky, but in a ring where there's controls, maybe, but even then, it'd be really, really hard to stop. My knee pressure is just fucking fine, and so is my blood pressure. I may be a little on the heavy side, but I still take care of myself. So, like I said, I rarely, if ever, I can't remember the last time I had a drink. My vape is almost at 0 nicotine, which means I'm trying to get myself completely off that. I exercise daily, and my diet is solid. The people in my family are heavy. It's a genetic thing. And not as big as I used to be. I used to be like really big. Tipping the scales at almost 350. But I've also been extremely lean. So I've maintained good shape. So, but nonetheless, I would hand him his ass on a platter. I would. I would literally just scoop it and just be like, here you go. Your ass, sir. And I hate to say it, there'd be a kind of sadistic pleasure in that, which is difficult because some people in this world just kind of need to get their. That's kind of like the old school. That's like my dad talking. Some people in this world need to get their ass beat, like they walk around like they've never been smacked in the mouth. He walks around like he's never been smacked in the mouth, and 350 little man with a beard. I see. Jason Hyde, that's hilarious. Exactly. Fred Edge says it only takes one punch on the concrete to really hurt someone. Keep it in the cage. See. That's why it's dangerous. That's why when Chili's out there in the street, that's why it didn't escalate to that. Because the last thing I need is to pop Chili in the face, and then he bounces his head off the concrete or off the edge of a concrete bench or off some structure out there, and then all of a sudden he's bleeding out all over the floor, and I'm like, I just hit him once. Sorry, aggravated. You get to go to prison. So yeah, it fucking hurts getting smacked in the mouth. You're damn right. Aaron Reese says, your weight is a family problem. Maybe we should stop eating whole families. But they're so delicious, especially the little ones. Because I am a baby-eating atheist. Yes, Randy Hatmaker. Randy Hatmaker, yes. Decimate would be a good one. Decimation. Yeah. So. Oh, excellent. Good work, NANA. Fantastically done. Well done. Well done. Getting healthy, man, it's tough, especially when you're over 40. You know, getting healthy and staying that way, especially when you have kind of like a predisposition to holding weight. You know, just trying to make sure your diet is absolutely correct, especially in today's economy and like that. You know, the various things that I usually would eat are expensive, and it becomes more. Even when you have money, you still kind of have to budget things out to make sure that you don't just wildly spend everything, and it can be a pain in the ass. So, but luckily I have my gym here, so I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to buy a gym membership. Charlie Welch says, "Yep, I turned 43 in 2 weeks. I'm 43 in a month in June. 43 in June." Brett Keane, good. He's in the live chat. Says, "JL, I shared your show to my community page with a bio and summary of what we talked about." Awesome, thank you, Brett. Appreciate that very, very much. Aaron Reed says, "All right, promise to watch a movie with the spouse. Y'all take it easy." Thanks, Aaron. Thanks so much. He says, "If I go to prison, I might get to meet Ken Hovind. If it's in Alabama, that means I have to beat him up in Alabama. That means I have to beat Chili. That's just 2 strikes already. That's just, I'm in Alabama. Not to dog on Alabama, I'm sorry, but I'm in Alabama and I'm fighting Chili DeCastro. That's just, what did I do? What would I have done to get into this situation? That's just terrible." Oh, and Daryl M says, "You're all young ones." Yep, because Daryl M remembers what it was like to go to school, barefoot in the snow, uphill both ways, along razor blade roads and alcohol rivers. He remembers those days. He absolutely does. Yeah, we're all saying, John Rapp says we're all sick of Chili, can't stop talking about him like a bad aftertaste. I get it. I see that it's good to see that people still, people dig this channel still dig my channel for not focusing on that stuff. Not kind of like, I know it's hot with the algorithm, but it's true. The algorithm is going this direction because of the content that I do, which is typically science-based, philosophy-based, a little bit of comedy, education, stuff like that, and addressing theist videos. And so I appreciate that. If anything, maybe on a live chat, I may screw around with it, but I prefer having these conversations here what people predicate, their daily interactions on, and how they try to influence our legislation and bring everybody under this umbrella of like evangelical Christianity. So, Just Call Me Obvious says more ghost content. I know that y'all like the debunking videos where I watch like a ghost video and go through the debunking thing with you. I know that was a big hit during Halloween. Maybe I should do some more of that. Because there's a lot out there. There are a bunch. Just like, especially like Bigfoot videos and, encountering things in like the sewer and stuff. It's just goofy stuff. I wish I was able to get more theists on for conversations about what they believe and why they believe it. It's difficult outside of the stage that we do. Let me see here. And I see that King Xerxes is not on either. Because we really need to set that up. So I know I've been kind of hush-hush about it, but King Xerxes and I have been playing with the idea of doing a kind of like a call-in kind of talk show for theists, where we can discuss these things with individuals who call in and individuals that call in and have questions for us and want to discuss these topics. It'll be a bit more controlled than the Sunday stages where we have like 8 people on the stage, eight people on the panel. But it'll be a bit more controlled, probably 2 people, 3 people, 4 at the most, to be like individuals like Jack Burton or Androcus or Jefferson Spatchcock or whoever happens to be there. We can also do rotations where we don't have the same people on every single time. And we can host them on our channels so that if people get super chats, it goes to the correct channel. So if people want to super chat King Xerxes, it goes to him. If they want to super chat me, it goes to me. That whole kind of thing. So we don't know how we're going to put it together, but we're trying to put that together. So Mr. Twitch, I know my dog is a barking. He is a barking. I don't know what he's barking at. Might be barking at something outside. So Mr. Twitch. Okay, hang on a second. I probably have to see what's going on. Give me one moment. Squirrel, yeah. Yes, get rid of T-Jump for as long enough as Angelo is. I totally get that. I do. Oh. I don't have to go. It's my wife coming home. Because I hear her talking to him. So, yeah, he's freaking out. It's like, all right, so, Mr. Twitch, I am aware that I'm aware that you're not a big Xerxes fan. So, but the one thing we're running off of is that Xerxes is kind of, how he kind of approaches the topic is what we do on the stage is not really reflective of Xerxes as an interlocutor. So the problem with the biggest issue with the stage that we do on every other Sunday is that there's so many people on the stage. So we have to be a bit forward and a bit strong and aggressive coming across so we can make sure that we get out what we're trying to do, because people tend to have a tendency, there's some individuals have a tendency to kind of like jump over each other. Like, T-jump. I like T-jump, but Peter sometimes as well. When Xerxes, me, Androcus, and Jack Burton when they did the Discord stages. So the Discord stages were discoverable by anybody on Discord. Anybody could come in. When the four of us were running those stages, we averaged like 500 people a stage. And it was amazing. And there was no over talking. We all understood where our kind of strengths were, and if a particular question came up, the four of us knew who could best approach it. Jack Burton was pretty much color commentary throughout, and so that worked the best. When it came to like biblical historicity and Christianity, the nuances of Christianity, that was best suited for Xerxes. When it came to like science and medicine and various other things, cosmology and physics and stuff like this, I was best suited for that. Androcus was best suited from a philosophical perspective when it came into like demarcating certain things, certain viewpoints. So we all had a really excellent flow. And then Jack is just, he's a deist and he's well versed. So he was able to kind of color comment the whole time and ask questions that were important. So when it came down to it, that worked really well for us. And we'd like to get back to that because it just was an excellent system. The problem is, Discord got rid of the stages because people were abusing them to do really, really nasty shit. So hopefully we will get that back together. We want to do like a call and deal where people can come in and we can take calls from theists and actually talk to them and have conversations via the live chat. That's the hope eventually. But please, Peter T. Jump free. I can see that. I can see how you came to that. Dog sense is pure evil. It must be chilly. Good to see you, Lord. It's probing time. So dog sense is pure evil. Must be chilly. Possibly. Just Call Me Obvious says, isn't it a bit cheaty? The premise is, can you convince us there's a God? You get a lot of trolls with that headline, and you often do. How will you work around that for your new show? So our original, and I think our original title, what was the original title of our stage? I think originally we called it the Heathen Hangout, or the Atheist Hangout, or something like that, or Ask an Atheist. But I think we went by a number of deals. We tried to figure out what was best. And then that kind of, brought us in, or, there wasn't something so aggressive in like saying, haha, convince us, or haha, whatever. Or like the atheist helpline, or like the theist helpline. These are, the wording is there to elicit a particular response, which is prone to drawing in the trolls. So hopefully we'll get it figured out. Not sure what they decided what we wanted to title it, but I know we're trying to put that together. And so that both of our channels can benefit from it, and we can have these conversations, and of course, make super chatting and memberships and all this stuff so much easier as well, because it will be, on each other's channel. We'll have it on each other's channels with somehow to connect it in between. I'm not 100% sure how to do that. Fred just says, I'm still waiting for a Satanist to be on. Well, that's the thing about Satanists, is that, they don't really believe in Satan. So it's technically a political tool to be utilized against Christian extremism. It's what it's essentially become. Bridge the Divide. Despite the filibusters, still no goddesses. Very true. No goddesses yet. Nothing has been demonstrated to exist as yet. So it isn't just theism. Magic, ghosts, and supernatural is fair game for the new show. It all would be. Everything about it. Oh, just call me out. He says, Freight Edges, I'm a Satanist. I have my certificate and everything. Yeah, I just haven't had, no necessity, because when you boil down to it, to its essentials, like Satanism and this, Satanism is really just kind of humanism with dogma, and Satanists don't really believe in Satan is a figure, because if Satan exists, then so does God and everything, so they're kind of like, in that respect, but, I've never met a Satanist that legitimately believes that Satan exists as like an entity to be worshipped. The only ones I've met has been it's a political tool utilized very similar to the flying spaghetti monster. It's a tool utilized to both combat and expose the logical failings of Christianity and organized religion. That's what I've gotten out of that. So, all right. So I think I've got all of the super chats that came through. I didn't miss any. Thank you all so much for all of the cool, for the gifted memberships. Clive Well says, I am a Saganist. Does that count? Well, hail Sagan. In that respect. Yeah, pretty much that in leather clothing. That's true. All right, so we go to about an hour and 45 minutes here, and we talked to our one guest, talked to my one guest, Brett Keane, to get kind of like the context and to discuss Christians that don't stand for the hateful and violent rhetoric of other Christians and how they stand up for that. It's very interesting stuff. Hey, Mr. E-Man, good to see you, bud. Appreciate you being here. So, that being said, and this has been an excellent show, it's a good conversation. So a couple things that are coming up. Tomorrow, I will also be going live again, doing another live stream. So it's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be around 4 o'clock. So I appreciate it. So you'll see that pop up when I get it scheduled. And then, of course, a huge giant thank you to all of the super chats that came through. Your super chats help me to do all the stuff here. And of course, thank you to all of the new channel members and all of the gifted memberships. Irish Demon, looking at you, bud. I don't know if you're still in the chat or if you came back or if you slunk back into my live chat. But thank you all so very much. I do appreciate that. Thank you for the support. All those channel memberships, 99 cents a month if you like it. The link is down in the description. You get access to all of the emojis that I make for you and, of course, the channel badge as well. So if you want to be a member of the Godless Army, check out the link below. And, of course, I added a bunch of new stuff to the Bridge the Divide Teespring. So go and check that out. Coffee mugs, additional t-shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff. Go and check that out. And, of course, the Darth Dawkins official store will be opening very shortly. I'll make a big announcement on the channel that happens of finally getting it done so we can make these things accessible. There was a pricing thing and a weight thing and a shipping thing we had to sort out. It's finally sorted out. And you will be able to get your very own official Darth Dawkins squeak toy very, very soon. So I will make a big announcement, be a big community post announcement when I make that. That will be available shortly. So that's what's coming up. Not to mention more created content. I have a new video coming out about Matt Powell, which is going to be really difficult. I won't lie. It's going to be tough because it's a hard subject that I'm about to get into. God, it's coming back on me, Oh. Put the cap on that. I don't know how cats drink alcohol all straight. That just that would fuck me up. Diet Coke, Monster, water, that'll work. So, that's what's coming up on Bridge the Divide. Of course, Week in Horror every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central with me, Johnny O, Eugene, Alex, and Aaron. And so we have a new episode coming up, like I said, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. over at youtube.com/weekinhorror. As a matter of fact, we're really, really close to 1,000. So we need 205. We're 205 subs away from 1,000 on Week in Horror. Slowly but surely, we'll eventually get there. So yeah, we're 205 subs away, so hopefully we'll get that very, very soon. All those links are down in the description as well. So I super appreciate that. Thank you so much for checking it out. But if you could throw me a sub over there, it'd be great. But other than that, thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for all the super chats, all of the channel memberships. Appreciate it. Definitely says, Bridge Divide, you owe me a piece of merch. I've been waiting a year and I've only asked 4 times now. Did you win something or... Let me make a note of this. Did you win, Dr. Nimrod? Did you win something, or it was a squeaky ball or a top? Doctor, let me make a note of this. I don't want to forget this. I'm gonna look into this. So, but thank you all very much. Take it easy, Mystique. Thank you so much. Y'all have a fantastic night. Thank you for joining me. This is always a blast. I always have difficulty kind of signing out of these things. So I have been JL. This is Bridge the Divide, and remember, be safe, be excellent to each other, and together we can bridge the divide. Hopefully no more ghosts.